Hello, my name is Sakib, and welcome to the What's Wrong podcast. So, recently during the pandemic, domestic abuse cases have been rising, and in a lot of cases, it's really hard to prosecute the abusers and to protect the victims. So, Kashav, what do you believe is the main reason why it's so difficult to solve the problem?
Well, domestic violence, unlike, is not a disease or some say or a mental disorder. It's a personality trait from many people. Could be men, could be female. It's everywhere, and also could be stemming from anger issues or past issues as well. So, in relation to that, it's something that should be taught to stay in control. It's something that you cannot completely cure out. It's a trait that can persist from time to time. It's a generational trait. I'm gonna be a shitty dad to my kid. He's gonna be a shitty dad to
Yeah,
his
he's
kid
gonna also be
inadvertently.
abusive to his kids.
Yes. So I'm just spreading it out. And if I teach my kid that if my dad was shitty to me, I can teach my kid that okay, I'm not gonna be shitty to you, but I'm gonna teach you all the ways to be not so shitty. You feel me? So that's all I have to say.
Okay, so Rafa, do you have anything to add to what Kashav just said?
I can agree with Kasha. Unfortunately, a lot of this abuse in men, boys, is fueled by their families themselves.
Hmm.
Obviously, when a boy grows up watching his father abusing and beating up his mother, he won't. It is pretty obvious that this could pass on to him, and he'll eventually adopt that trait, growing up to become an abuser to his own spouse. And more of the society, this conventional society, to what I'm terming it as, teaches us
Hmm.
separately men and women. In this field, boys are brought up to get rights and authorities, whereas girls, on the other hand, are deprived of their rights and taught to depend on males.
So, in other words, you're saying that because of our patriarchal society, where it's like men are favored over women, it's increasing the problem.
Yeah, it's messing up with their mindset, and gradually they become something which they and their parents never thought that they would become. So it's like, it messes with your head. It eventually makes you this abuser whom you think you were not supposed to be, but you are an abuser. Like for you, it's normalized now
So,
because you
it's like a
forget you've
societal
been.
thing.
That's a societal thing. And Saki, we must also consider that the fact that in many of the cases where like the husband together with his parents are equally involved in the abusing, deliberately threatening to kill if the victim chooses to speak up. Which answers the very important question of why it's harder to prosecute or help the victims. Moreover, another major reason why I feel that victims of abuse decide to stay rather than speaking out is very much talked about. That's victim blaming. She
Hmm.
knows that if she tries to speak up and file a complaint, the society will always stand for the husband, cooking up stories about her character and blaming her parents for raising her in the wrong manner. I don't know about you guys, but to me, this is a big deal because the
Naturally, it
victim,
is a big
yeah,
deal.
the victim herself is traumatized after what she's been through, and
Hmm.
we wouldn't want, she wouldn't want to drag her family into this.
Yeah,
And
and in a lot of cases, the family is
yeah,
involved.
yeah, and we must also we have come to know along the years that in many occasions the family itself discourages the girl to file a complaint because they know that the society will mock them for this and it will affect their status in the society itself. Because
Like, let's say if she, let's say
we have
someone divorces
a
their
certain
abusive husband, then she's
yeah,
also
we
gonna
have
get
this
shamed by the
we have this
society.
trait of blaming the victim, the wife, for everything. We don't think twice before raising fingers on our character or something much more like serious. And
Hmm.
we care about criticism more than our own daughters. I'm not blaming all the parents. A lot of them do stand for their daughters, but why not everyone? I
But
would
a huge portion does not.
yeah, a huge portion does it, but there are a certain number of parents who don't. I would personally
Hmm.
escort my daughter-in-law to the police station if my son was an abuser. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
Nihal was raising his hand.
Oh, I just agree completely with everything Rafael said. The problem is most. I'm not generalizing it, but I'm saying mostly in some Asian countries or even the subcontinents like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh.
Mhm.
Like parents usually care more about their reputation rather than the lives of their daughters or their children. For example,
Yeah.
if a daughter complains of being abused physically, mentally, sexually, anyhow by their husbands to the maternal family, the parents is gonna say, it's just a matter of time. It's gonna be fixed. Try and bear with it. That's the
Or they
problem.
even go up to say like, "Okay, just adapt to it."
If I give you some stat, let's just do it after COVID. So almost since COVID started, it's been two years, I guess. Not even 2 years,
More or less, like
more
at
or
least
less.
1.5.
So in this 2 years, 65,000 cases along the 53 districts of Bangladesh were reported of domestic abuse. 65,000
During the pandemic,
during the pandemic only.
and it has actually risen because of
Exactly.
quarantine
And
and
what's amusing? I would say amusing. What's horrifying would be a better word is that out of those 65,000, 485 women reported that they had never faced domestic violence before the COVID started.
oh, so it's like COVID was a catalyst for a lot of rage, which
Yeah,
husbands
definitely.
basically took out on their wives.
Even
No, it shouldn't be a reason to take it on your wives either way.
exactly, it shouldn't
Obviously,
be a
it
reason.
shouldn't, but
Obviously,
it's
it
like
Should
it
not
shouldn't.
be
Like,
was
take
a
it on a
generalized.
wall if you want, like punch a wall.
No,
It's
no,
not gonna speak back.
and also, and out of those 38,485, 20% women said they even face physical, mental, and sexual abuse. So that's like every way possible the woman was being tortured, and and these cases are rising every day. Maybe there are many cases which are not even reported because of the pressure from the society or the family or anyhow. That's the thing. Steps need to be taken soon in order to reduce it. That's what I think.
okay. So before we move to the solutions, Tanzin, do you have anything to add regarding the problems faced?
Um, yeah, I do have a few things to add. Like before we move to the solutions, I feel like we should look at what constitutes domestic violence in Bangladesh or over around the world in general. For example, Michael P. Johnson, he's an expert in gender studies, and he
Mm-hmm.
identifies three major types of domestic violence. First is called intimate terrorism, which is
As
demonstrate
in,
intimate terrorism is defined like it's demonstrated through the traditional power control rule, and it's like an attitude of entitlement, like as Kashav and Raphael were stating earlier that we are born into this patriarchal society where girls are a lot of girls are deprived of
taught
their
to be
rights.
obedient.
They're taught to be obedient to their husbands or their father-in-laws, and men are naturally given this
Um,
throne of power, like
Privilege.
this privilege, and
Hmm.
that gives them an entitlement, that gives them a feeling of entitlement that, oh, I can use her, I can use my wife or my daughter as I want. And this type of violence is called intimate terrorism.
women are
um
being objectified.
then there's then there's situational couple violence. Um this is basically more of a husband wife or a relationship thing where a couple starts arguing, and then the argument deteriorates, and over time this results in physical violence.
So
This
it
is
becomes violent.
Basically, in the heat of the moment, something
A
can
normal
happen there.
yes,
argument becomes violent.
this is the second type. And the third type, according to Mr. Johnson, is violent resistance, where basically this kind of starts with the male, either at first or whoever is the abuser at first, like they start verbally or verbally abusing or saying something that triggers the victim. They start resisting, and this
Mhm.
resistance leads to the abuser taking more drastic actions like sexual violence or physical violence, beating them up. So this is the
Mhm.
third major type. And in Bangladesh, according to various studies conducted by UN Women and the API GBV, which is the
Mhm.
gender-based violence for organization for the Asia Pacific, According to various studies in Bangladesh, it has been identified that the most common type is intimate terrorism, as I have explained. It gives us an entitlement, and we end up and these men, these abusers, they end up using
Verbally abusing their wives.
verbally, physically,
Physically
sexually,
as well.
however they
Hmm.
want. They just use them. So yeah, this is the most common type in
Okay, so
Bangladesh.
Nihal is raising his hand. So,
One of the main points I think I would like to add for domestic violence is dowry.
oh, and that's a huge problem
I think
here.
that's a that
It's a
I
huge
think
problem in our region, actually.
I
I think
mean,
it would be the
especially in
biggest.
the countryside,
I
where
think
it's
we
like
can
a
say it's
And
the
the
custom.
biggest
subcontinent as a
problem.
whole.
I think it would be the biggest problem in our, in the underdeveloped countries mostly. And
Yeah.
as I was mentioning before about I told you guys about the cases of the 65,000 women.
Hmm.
Out of that, for around 40% to 45% reported that since the COVID started, maybe their husband lost their jobs or maybe the income wasn't enough. They were being physically beaten.
For
They were
more dowry.
Yeah, for dowry. They wanted money from their from the families. A woman even reported that she wasn't given food for 5 days because she couldn't bring the money from her parents.
And we're
That's
talking about
disgusting.
people who don't even have like a stable earning.
Exactly.
They live on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add one thing. I don't know podcast. I don't know if it's gonna stay. A guy made his wife work as a sex worker just to get money.
Oh, come on.
Just for dowry.
That's a very
That's
common practice in our country.
That
One
happened in
thing I
Nilphamari.
think
That is
one of the
not being
strictest
talked
Bro,
about.
Nilphamar is known for this
Maybe
kind of
very
things.
less, maybe percentage very
Bro.
less, but there are times when men can be abused just physically abused in every way. There are a few cases maybe not published because men have that
Because of
ego thing
the. Hmm.
that
not just an
whatever
ego thing.
happening ego. It's also about the self-respect, about the reputation they care about.
And no
That's
one
also
would
been driven.
believe them. I
Exactly,
mean, in our
exactly.
society, no one
That's
believes
the
them.
first point. Like, for example, if you go and file a case about domestic violence, the priority of woman is given. The man would not be given that much.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
Okay, so
naturally.
Navid is trying to say something.
I actually would like to add on like the men's abuse part because a person close to me and I know has
Hmm.
been through that for the past 20 years of his life. He
Wait,
married
20
the woman.
years.
Yes,
It
he
has gone
married.
for that long.
He married his girlfriend who he had dated for 7 years
Hmm.
and was the love of his life. After the marriage, it all changed, unfortunately. So for the past 20 years, he has been mentally, physically, and verbally abused every day and day in, day out. And how severe am I talking? So severe that he is currently fighting for his life in the hospital. He cannot breathe properly. He
That
cannot
is
eat
so sad.
properly. His internals are have been wrecked viciously.
So, what did she use to abuse him? Like, to injure
At
him?
first, it started mainly with like mental and verbal abuse, calling him out for things that he isn't like good enough with listening,
Hmm.
or just outright just insulting him in front of a lot of people.
So,
From that,
humiliating him.
from that to like physically beating him up with like sticks, steel scales at one point where he had gashes on his back. That's severe. And that's just not the worst part. The worst part is that the only reason she did it because the his wife did it because his wife, if he was beaten up by his wife and he got like sick or he needed dire medical attention, we would be able to send him money, and
Hmm.
she would basically take that money all for herself, take her children out to eat, and basically leave my that relative of mine.
Basically, leave him sick and needing
Yes,
medical
and
attention.
give him the bare minimum for survival, the barest of minimum.
Okay, so Rafa is trying to say something.
Acha, Kashav, you raised a very important point because we were talking about women being victimized, but us men are not so behind in this aspect. So the thing is like we victimize females like women, but men are being abused too,
Yeah,
and
that is
their
true.
spouses in most of the cases. It is considered shameful and lack of manliness for a man to be abused. Could you guys imagine?
because of toxic
Yeah, because our
masculinity.
society doesn't look at it in this way. Like for us, a man being abused is not possible. The enforcement agencies seem to laugh it out when a male victim shows up to file a complaint of abuse. Therefore, he restrains from it and decides to withstand in order to avoid social criticism. And I believe the person Kashav is talking about, is the same because he knew that if he showed up at a police station, the entirety of the society will mock him.
I would actually to add up to that. He
Mhm.
did go to the police station. Unfortunately, the
And
police, the people there are the ones who harassed him back to his house.
Kashav, you proved my point. The law enforcement agencies laugh it out, and this is like living proof of that.
Like they harassed him in front of a lot of people when he wanted help. How
So
fucked up is that kind of shit?
we need
honestly, that's messed
we
up
need
because,
immediate enforcement of laws on abuse for men as well, alongside women.
yeah,
And
obviously.
imagine a woman dominating a man, like being abusive towards a man. Like it's so not like our thinking. Like
Hmm.
we kind of separate the sexualities here. Like a woman cannot be abusive to a man, but a man can be abusive to a woman.
The
That
Which
thing,
is completely false. It can be both sides of the coin.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
exactly.
we don't seem to believe in it.
Especially when the man is sick.
Yeah, and also the thing is, some people, some guys may have some principles or some morals, or something that they maybe don't even speak at a high pitched voice with their woman. Maybe at that times, maybe that could be taken for granted. For example, Kasha was
Women do
giving
take advantage.
yeah, as Kasha was giving the
Hmm.
example. For example, has your known person ever raised his voice on his wife, or
No,
I
he has
mean,
never even laid a hand on his wife.
I said,
hmm.
oh, yeah, exactly. So that just proves my point. Like, just because of some morals, some principles that a guy has, he can be abused.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the guys here who get abused, I've seen this one trend with all the guys who are being abused is that the only reason they stay with the abuser for many years to come is because of his children. For the love of his children, he doesn't speak up about it or doesn't even bat an eye.
That is
He
pretty awesome.
keeps away so that his children can at least grow. That's the only reason he's still affected. He's
He doesn't
getting
want
hit
his
every
children
day
to
for it.
grow up without a mom.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that works in both ways because it also works with like wives. A lot of
Yeah,
wives don't want to
exactly.
divorce their husbands because their children would be shamed for it, growing up without a father.
but they're ignoring the very important aspect here. The kids are gonna grow up watching them do this
Hmm.
and
And they
eventually be
might,
abused
One
at the
thing,
same time.
one thing I would
influenced
The
like
by
to
it.
kids might
add.
be used to that at that point. Like they'll be used to that kind of scenario.
Okay, as one point I'm gonna add, with the adapt on it, like that was said a very long time ago, but I just got it now in my mind. For
Hmm.
example, when a girl gets married, maybe within the first few months, if she complains of having, being abused or having troubles with the family to adjust, usually the girl's parents say, have a children, have a child. It's gonna make them feel better.
Oh my god.
That
But
just
I
makes the
think
situation more toxic.
not only toxic, she's getting more stuck. He's getting even more stuck. It's like, in a quicksand. For example, your legs are stuck. Your parents are like, yeah, put your hands into it and try to pull your legs out. That's what they're actually saying.
That's a
Uh,
very good
Yeah,
analogy,
I love your
honestly.
humor.
yeah, it is a good comparison because it's like the kids are gonna actually be a reason for her to stay in the abusive marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even after abuse, she tries to leave or go away. The kid, if she looks at her face, she's the kid playing with the father. Maybe if he's not abusive towards the child, she
She's
won't have the
potentially
gut.
breeding a future abuser.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
say
It
that.
fails to realize that.
No, no, I
A
would
lot
say
of the
that.
time, they might be influenced by it because it has been normalized for them.
In
They might,
most of the time, not
yeah,
I
not
would say most of the
necessarily,
time,
but
but
a
I
lot
would
of the
say
time,
that.
yes.
exceptions are there.
See, all I'm gonna say is like how what kind of person you want to be. It depends a lot on yourself, like what you want to take in and what you want to leave out. So a lot of things we see around us, we don't take everything inside us. We leave some out, filter some out. If the
We
kid
have
is
to admit a family has a role to play in what a child
Yeah,
grows.
but yeah, especially in this society, it has been normalized, and that's why it goes on and on.
yeah,
Not only in
that's
our
a
country, the
problem.
neighboring countries too,
That's
like
a
Indian
very big
Pakistan.
problem
Yeah,
too.
obviously. So
I
Tanzim is
you know
trying
it's
to say
almost
something.
hereditary, the violence thing.
No,
Hmm.
I just want to add that, like, because of the fact that it's so normalized, often when people speak up about it, like nobody even listens to them. They're like, oh yeah, whatever, it happens to everyone, just suck it
I
up.
mean, a lot of the time people think that it's like a personal thing and then they shouldn't interfere.
I actually want to add on to something.
Yes,
Go
I
please.
on.
want to take the conversation to like rape culture in our country.
Okay, go on. You can.
Basically rape culture. All these men who've been raised, I don't know how or what way they've been raised, see women as nothing but, okay, it's gonna sound really
Go on, it's
misogynistic,
fine.
but they're just like the only thing that in their
They
eyes
see
women
them
just
as an
are just
object.
breeders for them. Nothing. Just pleasure machines. Sex toys.
And then they eventually abuse the woman they have been married to. A lot of the time they're like, because of
So
arranged
here's my take
marriages.
here. These guys who think women are just objects and not human beings, they've been raised in an environment where they've seen that the woman, like, what's the woman that you first see? Your mother, your sister, your older sister, right? They've been abused. That's how they've been groomed and raised. So if he is raised in an environment where either gender is not as much given like priority and is abused day in and day out, then he's gonna gain the mentality that, okay, if a girl is being abused in front of me and she's not fighting back, I think I'm the superior one here, right?
Yeah.
So that's my take here.
So Rafa is trying to say something.
I would like to add a bit to what Pasha was discussing about. Uh, to me, the major reason behind the increasing number of cases for domestic abuse lies in the lack of sex education in homes and schools. We tend to avoid teaching our boys the very important thing about respecting women in general.
As in
Only when we,
consent
yeah,
Consent.
and
like
stuff like
consent
that.
and like the respect that you need to show to women. However,
Mhm.
there's always someone to nag the girl about what she should wear and where should she should go. And I believe that these are contributing to the mindset being like, getting into that mindset from a very young age. And boys start to objectify women, thinking that it's an integral part of manliness to dominate over his spouse or partner.
To
So
control them.
yeah, to control them. Like the patriarchal mindset, it comes within from a very young age when you're in this surrounding where no one's teaching you what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. Like the simple art of respecting a woman. Like we are not teaching our boys that particular thing. So that is why they're objectifying the girls. And with
Hmm.
time, when they marry someone, it gets passed on to them, and they start abusing their partners.
Under the section 375 and the penal code 1860,
Hmm.
if a girl is married and she's under 13 years only, then the intercourse can be considered as non-consensual.
So
If even
wait. So essentially the age of consent is like 14.
then yeah. And like who, like in Bangladesh, the rule of marriage is 18, right? The 13 years who's gonna get married. Maybe in villages they do, so that's gonna be
It does
Oh yeah,
considered.
they
happen.
still do that.
It
They
does
still do
It
happen.
that.
happens
It
a lot.
does
Yeah,
happen.
exactly. So even after 18, like you're matured and you complain, they're not gonna listen you. So the law is just there to show.
Yeah.
Oh my god, our country is just filled with pedophiles at this point. Holy shit.
Yes, I would say like not all hope is lost. Like there's the 2010 Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Act. Like at least whether it's enforced or not, at least there is a law and there is something that there is some hope for those who are victims of domestic abuse. Like under this act, the victim gets a restraining order, and the abuser, like if they break that order, then they can face imprisonment of, if I'm not wrong, up to 1 year. So there is not
It
all
should be
hope is
more
lost.
though.
It should be more, and
Actually,
moreover,
it depends on the situation. How bad is the abuser itself?
Okay,
nah,
but there should be like there should be the
like there should
option
be
to increase
levels. Like
it.
let's say if
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah, there should
levels.
be. Yeah, I'm talking about like levels. Depending on the situation, the levels will
yeah,
increase.
and
Yeah.
Depending
plus
on the heinousness of the abuse,
Yeah,
how bad is it?
definitely.
yeah, plus. I would also like to add like the rate of domestic violence has fallen from 87% in 2011 to 77% in 2013, then 72.6% in 2016. So like there is a gradual trend of decrease, but 72% is still a very high number. We have to
That
bring
is
that down.
stupidly high.
We still have a lot of work to do, but like it would be wrong to say that nothing is being done. Like something is being
I
done.
mean,
We have to.
obviously there have been initiatives.
There have been also a lot of NGOs and a lot of organizations have stepped up to try and prevent women from getting harassed. There, like
Hmm.
harassment in public transport happens a lot. Although this is slightly not this is slightly off topic, but I would like to just
But
say
it's a huge problem.
it is a
I
huge problem.
saw I saw one study
The
where
girls
it's
have
like,
it tough in this country, where
yeah,
nowhere is
yeah,
safe from them.
It's
Not
not
even
yeah.
safe.
our own house.
I
Yeah,
I saw this one study which stated that apparently at least like somewhere between 92% to 94% of women who regularly go on public transport have been harassed in some way.
yeah. And to prevent this, at least BRTC has started a bus service for women only. So at least that will help for to reduce this. And
But is it really like but is it really like a problem solver in the long term?
no, not in the long term. Look, I would
It
like to
won't solve in the long term. The long term is that teaching all the guys to like be fucking actual men rather than the ideological men that's been showcased in our country.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I would
the
like to just
fragile.
yeah, I would like to just add that violence, harassment, this is not something that you're born with. Okay, we aren't born with this mindset. This is something that's taught. This is something that our
So it's something
parents
that
have.
is societal.
It's taught. We learn this from our environment, from our parents, from our friends, whoever all of these things that influence us, all of these
Mhm.
things um, that build our personality. This is how we learn all of these things. We don't we aren't born with this mindset. It's taught, and we have to teach something better. We have to teach that this mindset is wrong. We have to break the cycle. That's all I have to say. Sakit.
Okay, so Neil is trying to say something.
Okay. To the point when Tanzeen said, things steps are being taken, yes, there. But this year, since October, I mean, sorry, last year, October,
Like 2020.
yeah, 2020, since
Hmm.
2020 October, the 100% cases of rape that were reported, 68 point, 63.8% of were from people who were married, and they were done by their husbands.
Oh,
63.8% out of 100.
Marital rape
Marital
and
rape.
is
and
really
the
bad.
and the problem is a lot of husbands don't even recognize it as rape. They think that they're entitled to it.
It's
You
the
know.
right. They think that using their wife is a right.
So
Again, when
Rafa,
I came, a lot of men are taught that women are just object,
hmm.
nothing else.
Okay, so Rafa is trying to say something.
Okay, so we Tanzim would be talking about the change, like the change in mindset that needs to happen in order to bring down this number to limits that we could be proud of. But I believe that we need to emphasize on a few solutions, probable solutions that could be implemented, that should be implemented to see this gradual change.
Absolutely.
Awareness to be created
Hmm.
on sex education is one of them, and where like both boys and girls are taught to treat each other with respect. Boys should be taught about how to respect women in general at home by their parents. But I repeat, at home by their parents. They
Hmm.
won't get it from somewhere else if their parents don't make them understand this from a early age. Girls, on the contrary, should be raised as equals and taught to be independent, which we are doing to an extent, but I don't see the numbers going down.
But
Uh,
there's more to go.
yeah, there's more to go.
Exactly.
We should they should be trained to stand against any atrocity without compromise. They shouldn't think twice before going to the police station and make a complaint. Moreover, schools should have classes, I believe, designed to mentally train boys and girls to treat each other as equals and with respect. As I mentioned, laws should be enforced on male abuse. I'm getting back to that again too, so
Yeah.
that like men can feel free to walk up and file a complaint
Hmm.
simultaneously. To be honest, like no matter how much we discuss and try to offer solutions, Tanzim mentioned a few very valuable points. Nihal had few very important statements to make. But to me, solutions won't like actually change the
Can
like
I add up a solution?
it
Yeah,
wouldn't bring
sure.
it down unless we change from within, unless we start a process at home. Only then we can bring cases down and expect to live in a world where men and women respect each other and both at home and at work, striving to make the society a better place.
Yeah, so
Okay,
Sakib.
Kasha was
can
saying
I
something.
add up? Okay, I'm gonna say the
Yeah, sure,
solution
go
is
on.
kind of controversial, but all girls and all boys schools should be abolished. That's a fucked up shit.
Can you
Honestly,
repeat?
I agree, although
Because
it's kind of
it
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it
controversial.
enforces us to like to not know what the other gender thinks. Girls don't know what boys are like. Guys don't know what girls are like.
They kind of lose it when they
Yeah.
actually blend in together.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
in the
Yes,
real
and when we
world,
blend
we
them
have to
together in
interact.
university, it's just a violent mixture. No one knows what the fuck they're doing at any given point of time.
Yeah.
let me just say something.
Me too. I have something to say.
Yeah,
For example, like not all the people are gonna be comfortable with it. Like a huge number of females and males will be comfortable with that being happening. Like if you don't have us, like if they don't want to, you can't literally force them to go into the co-ed system.
Hmm.
No, 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 no. I'm talking about like schools that are all boys and all girls. I've seen a lot of like I'm friends with like some girls who are from all girls schools, and they hate it there because there is nothing like like to socialize with. All girls are like all the girls they are toxic, and they just show toxic femininity in there. Some of the all boys schools I've friends from, they all should tell the same thing. Very toxic masculinity there. Where did that stem from? Because they are never taught to like merge with each other. Look at
Yeah.
boys and girls from like mixed schools, like mixed genders. They are
Yeah.
actually much more comfortable and like much more
How is it
socializing.
like that? Like there are a lot of also people from the co-ed schools who are very toxic.
basically, what Kashav is trying to say is that co-ed schools, because we mix with the other gender more frequently, it makes us more, you know,
It helps us
it
to
helps us to
humanize
it,
them.
it helps us to humanize them. We get to socialize more. We get to understand what they're like, and we get to treat them better. Even if same-sex schools were to exist, in these schools, in every school, in my opinion, especially in the countryside, sex education should be made completely mandatory, and it should be made thorough. And because if so, what if I grew up in a same-sex school? So what if I attended a school with thousands of boys? Women are also humans. They're also people. Like
Yeah.
if I'm taught manners, if I'm taught you know social skills, if I'm taught the concept of consent, which is not even that
Hmm.
difficult, then I should be able to interact with someone from the opposite gender quite easily. Maybe I won't be able to socialize. That's a different thing altogether.
Okay.
But at the very least, I will be less prone to harming them, to abusing them, and to destroying their lives, even if I'm from
Okay.
a same-sex school. So I feel like the main problem lies exactly not entirely in the fact that not entirely in the same-sex school concept, but rather more of the mentality of what we grew up with.
Okay. So Rafa is trying to say something.
Tanzim literally expressed my opinions as we were talking about kids not having that social bond, like boys and girls not having that, who belong to same gender schools. I believe that it's more important that we emphasize on sex education. We like guys, we don't have to be in the same sex school to treat another human being with respect. We have to
Hmm.
respect women as human beings, and women should be taught similarly to respect us as well. Like there should be this mutual understanding and respect amongst each other. Only then can we bring down the number of cases. Sakib.
Yeah. So Neha has been dying to say something.
Yeah, I think even before sex education and everything my friend said, the most important education that is needed, especially from schools, is moral education. Like you're learning from the book doesn't teach you how to be a good person usually. Book doesn't teach you how to be a good man. See, learning like learning the book, memorizing everything may make you a good student, may give you a lot of money. But
Hmm.
if you don't have morals, you're not going anywhere. You're just lost on the middle of the Pacific Ocean without a compass, without a navigation system.
Yes.
It's like how
Not
do
even
I
Bear Grylls can help you.
no.
Oh my
No, it's
god.
like it's like, oh, how do I treat a woman? Oh, x equals to minus b plus minus root over b square minus 4ac
Bro,
by
bro.
2a.
Exactly.
Oh, I think like someone's gonna be like, okay, how do I talk to her? How do I initiate a conversation? Oh, the quadratic formula.
Moral education from schools is very very important, and to teach them about what is right and what is wrong. And just because someone is superior, maybe stronger in any other way, doesn't mean you can hit someone or abuse someone, or even they abuse someone. Doesn't matter how, be it physical, be it mental, be it anyway. Do not do that. You need to have that thing in you, Jay. Why do I want to harm someone if I'm not getting any benefit? Like, that should be taught in schools, and that is very
That's
important.
even a worse concept. If they get some kind of benefit out of it, then it's even worse.
Yeah, it is worse.
Exactly. So, as I mentioned
Nihal,
about
if
the
you
Dory
didn't
thing,
mention, like you have to rephrase a bit. You should not harm anyone unless that person wants to harm you. You can only harm in
Yeah,
self-defense.
naturally.
Yeah,
That's
Like
Nihal,
one
in
thing
so
self-defense,
also.
if my girlfriend comes and starts punching against me, I'm going to defend myself.
Yeah,
Fair and
naturally.
square.
Nihal,
She's
sure.
gonna hit me with her 100%. I'm gonna give my 100%.
Nihal,
Okay,
Nihal, abar
Maybe
ho.
not necessarily 100%, but
just
at
defending
least
myself.
you
I'm just gonna
defend
be like
yourself.
a wall.
Yeah,
so
Nihal,
basically
That's
what I
much.
feel is moral education is very very important. Men, women, everyone should be taught, Jay. We cannot simply just behave rudely or hit someone, maybe because we are not liking them or something happened. No, that's not right. Unless you feel you're in danger or you're doing it for self-defense, that's a different issue, completely different issue.
Okay,
Then
what do you talk about? Why don't we talk about hitting children?
Yeah, and that
let's
is
take a
actually
big
That's
step
a
back.
That's child
that's a
abuse.
really big problem in our country.
That's
I
child
think
abuse.
yeah,
I
and
think
sometimes
I
it
think
can be extreme.
see, child abuse, hitting the child has been a very common thing in our country and India and Pakistan and many South Asian countries.
It's a
Most
very
Asian
common thing
countries.
throughout the world, basically.
Yeah, but
Thousands throughout
specifically
the
in
world,
Asia.
because in the European countries and the American countries there are laws about hitting children. If you didn't know.
Yeah.
You're gonna end up in jail.
Exactly. Sakib, do you know since 2020,
Hmm.
1,387 child have been reported of facing abuse,
In
like
Bangladesh.
in Bangladesh only.
What? I mean,
Uh,
it's probably
and
higher. It's
It's
probably
actually
higher.
it's actually really high because it's a
wait,
very
Yeah.
wait,
common
wait.
thing in every
Let,
household.
let me just give you the date. If you see that it didn't answer, it was only from 1st January till February.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
My goodness.
Oh my god!
And that those are the cases that were reported.
And the ones that haven't been reported, I'm
Like,
basically saying every single children is beaten up every day. I can say that as a
Yeah.
child who got beaten up
Pretty
when he
extremely.
did some extremely stupid shit. So there's this kid I know. He is really young, 13 years old, 12 years old, and all.
Hmm.
And he's a brat. I can gladly agree he's a big brat. Doesn't listen to anything and all. Okay, that's fine. Kids can be brat. We were all brats at one point of our lives, right?
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah, we were all brats.
I never was.
Shut up.
Yeah, sure.
You
sure.
are a brat right now, so I cannot agree.
Listen. At home, I'm given as example.
Okay, let's just ignore him.
Okay, let's just ignore it, Nihal. Okay, so basically, being a brat, okay, you are gonna get spanked here and there. That's a natural thing. You will get some kind of spanking. This kid's parent, like dad in particular, now his mom is mild compared to his dad. I'm not saying that they're both
compared
like
to his dad.
compared to his dad mild, like absolutely mild. But his dad, legit, like I've seen him getting beat up by his dad one day, just once, and I know that he's
you.
in front of me. Let me give an example. Think of SpongeBob, right? Think of the kid. I'm his dad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like he lifted it up with one hand, just like yeet.
He threw
That
him.
he could have gotten seriously injured.
Like I legit had to like step in and defend his ass.
And
Like I was like, okay,
this
hold on,
happens to
hold
him
on, hold on. What the
regularly.
fuck did he do?
This
Like I
happens
had
to
to
him regularly.
like whenever he screws up, and the problem is that his
Saki, I
dad's
remember.
like I don't know the problem with him, but he legit has a stick lying around in every single corner of the house. Anytime the
What?
kid messes up, the stick's coming. And it has come to a point that anytime his dad is around, he completely shuts down. Like maybe he was like, maybe I'm sitting beside him, we're talking about Fortnite, maybe Roblox, or his girlfriend, anything. His dad comes around,
Okay,
he
I'll be
completely
very
shuts
honest.
down.
I'll be very honest. This is like, yeah, I get the kid is a brat, but being going to that very extent is going to scar him. Like,
It
being
already
injured.
scarred him. His
So
dad walks in his room, he just shuts down, like no
and
emotion, no
and in the
nothing.
future, this is going to
Oh,
cause a
that's
lot of
just
PTSD. It's going to cause a lot of PT. One thing I'm going to highlight, child abuse in this country, one its maximum, a lot of it is caused by expectations. Like let's say parents, a lot of parents is they expect the students to study all day all night, get golden GPA, A stars, and all of that stuff, and often because of grades, when they're not able to fulfill the expectations, or when they're not being able to study properly, their parents just verbally, physically harass them and abuse them. It happens a lot. They degrade them, saying that you're never going to be able to do anything in life. You're completely worthless, you're useless. If you don't study hard, if you don't get an A star, we're going to throw you out of the house. And like as
Or from the, I'm gonna mitigate for the girls. That's for the boys. For the girls, if you don't get good grades, you don't get married off.
oh yeah,
I shall say
that's
that.
actually even more messed
that
up.
is
Like,
even
why would
more.
you say that to your own daughter?
One thing to add, Jay, you not only get married, you're gonna get married to a rickshaw, by the way. Saying things like that actually breaks the confidence and the motivation that a child has,
Yeah.
and they just lose it.
Yeah.
If your parents end up coming to you and say, okay, they get, like, you can do nothing in your life, you have no future and stuff. Like, I feel like if my own parents don't believe in me, what can I do? Like,
Yeah.
What
what
am
will
I
I
going
ever
to
do
do?
in the future? And I think this is a very one of the most important, and I think one of the very big reasons to suicides. And since the COVID started, it has also risen. COVID,
thousands of
Yeah.
thousands of students have committed suicide just in the last year. I'm not sure.
almost almost 110% or something. That's the increase.
Yeah, and there are many reasons to that. Like because of COVID, our
Hmm.
studies, the studies of most students have been severely affected. This has caused a drop in grades, and when the grades have
Yes.
dropped, like our parents, a lot of parents
Become
don't have,
violent
they become
and
violent.
even
They're like, "What are you doing?
abusive.
Why are you going? Why are
And I,
your grades dropping?" They don't understand there are
and
mental
also
Yeah,
health
in like
itself
a
is
lot of
dropping.
cases for girls, a lot of girls have been married off
true.
to
And
people who are older than them.
Like
one
10,
thing I'm
15,
gonna
20 years older.
Yeah, and naturally it's going to be an uneven marriage in terms of like the power dynamics, which opens up,
Causing domestic violence.
domestic up. Yeah. So Rafa, you're dying to speak.
Yeah, it was. So Sakib and guys, so basically a kid is like a bottle. When you keep on filling the bottle with verbal abuse, you nag him year after year, not so occasionally beat him up for minor reasons or major reasons. I don't know what the reasons are, but keep on doing it for a long time, it's gonna explode after a while, mentally fucking up the kid, and he might either go crazy or might get into the worst mental shape possible. His or her parent might have done it to like for him or her to have a bright future, but the kid might just go on an opposite path. And we must also consider the fact that such kids grow up to become parents who beat
Abu-
up and verbally abuse their kids too, which
Such
leads to
kids become abusers themselves.
further continuous abuse.
Yeah.
And very major point: why do we see an increase in number of senior citizens in old age homes. Why does it happen? Because kids
Because
in
they were
many,
abusive and they
yeah, because
deserve
the
it.
kids were abused and they take it back on their parents by abusing them after they grow up, and the cycle continues. It gets back to the parents. The parents give it to the children, and after a while, the kids take them to the old age home and leave them there. And this trend passes on to the next generation and so on. So I believe it's a very
until
important point to
until we
consider.
stop it and educate our
One thing I
Yeah,
would
but
children.
we're not stopping. We don't like
no,
stopping. We just like accelerating.
Mhm.
That's
one
So
thing
we
something
that
we
I
have
do
to
want to
not
set.
add
do.
is, like,
Yes.
for example, if the parents hit the children, don't get me wrong, like the pain is momentary, right? Like, I'm not saying hitting is right, by the way. It's not right at all.
The scar
But
is
like,
permanent.
sometimes the words they speak, it just breaks the children, shatters them. So I think words can completely break down a person. It can shatter
Hmm.
you as a person.
Okay, so Tazim, you were trying to say something.
One more reason that one more, I would say one more form of domestic abuse towards children is comparison. It's a very prevalent feature, especially in the society that we live in. Let's say if I have a relative who is doing really well in studies or in life,
Like
and
all A stars.
yeah, and I somehow slip up, even not by not that much, or if I slip up completely, if I fail in a couple
Or like
subjects.
let's say you just get A's.
Yeah, if I just get
Only
A's,
A's, not A stars.
and my cousin or my relative, whoever that is, gets all A stars and gets into an Ivy League university and stuff like that, they're going. A lot of parents, what they do is they start comparing. They're like, "You're not gonna do anything in life. Be like him, or go work for him. Go wash his feet, or something like that." Sometimes it gets very extreme,
And
and
it
that
affects
breaks.
their mental health.
If yeah, if and
It destroys it.
I've kind of been through that, and words like those break me. It makes me not even want to try anymore. What's the use if my own parents don't appreciate the effort? Like, look, A's are my best. I'm doing what I can. But if my own parents don't appreciate that, what's the use? What
The
am I
thing
going to
is,
do?
even like, see, one thing that I have learned, and I think everyone should learn, is in a competition, in exam, anything, the results I think don't matter. I think what matters even more the result is the effort you put in.
Yeah,
Like, if you're giving
naturally.
your 100% and you didn't get the A or you didn't get the A, so what's the you? No problem. You at least tried your best. Maybe you couldn't achieve it, but you tried your best. Losing basically comes when you don't even try and you don't get the result. For example,
Exactly.
if I don't even try and I end up getting and I end up getting a B, that's a different case. But if I try my best and then still I get a B, at least I have that, what should I say, satisfaction that I tried my best and I got the B. But parents don't appreciate that. That's a problem.
Okay, so we have reached a lot of great points in this discussion. If our viewers have anything to say about this, mention in the comments down below. So until next week, goodbye.
Goodbye. And it's up to us to break this cycle of domestic abuse and everything that we've been through. All of us, those have been through domestic violence, no matter what, let's do our best not to pass it on to the next generation. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.